Welcome back to the GenX Experience. This is episode 38, and we are continuing our little series on being the MTV generation. And today I have a really fun conversation with my guest, Dr. Kelly Barron. We are going to talk about being the MTV generation, what MTV meant to us, how things are different, and also talk about Kelly's story because she has done some really cool and interesting things. So before we get into my conversation, let me share a little bit about my guest. Dr. Kelly Barron is a licensed chiropractor, certified menopause specialist, and sexual health coach, a former MMA fighter, powerlifting record holder, and American Ninja Warrior contestant. She is the founder of the Kellfire Show, a podcast that empowers women with bold, taboo-breaking conversations addressing physical, emotional, and mental challenges. I actually was on her show, and I'll be sharing that when it comes out, I think later this month. Dr. Barron is the founder of My Tempesta, a virtual platform offering personalized support and resources for women navigating perimenopause and menopause. Through Dr. Kellfire's Apothecary, she creates all-natural supplements, including functional chocolates, designed to support women's hormonal balance, stress management, and libido. Dr. Barron's mission is to revolutionize women's healthcare, particularly during menopause, with fierce support and science-backed strategies. And all of her information will be in the show notes, a link to her website, her Instagram, and of course to her podcast. So without further ado, let's get into my very fun conversation with Kelly Barron. I'm so excited to have Kelly on my podcast because I was on her podcast, and I'll share when that's up so we can cross promote. But today we're going to talk about a little bit about Kelly's background because she has an interesting story. But first, we're going to talk about the theme of this month, which is the MTV generation. Because MTV, well, they attempted to play old videos, but not on MTV. It was like MTV2 and MTV Classic the first week of September. And then on Sunday, they had the VMAs. I don't know if you watched them, but like,
yeah,
they were interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
they were, well, I was pretty much fixated on Youngblood, so I only cared about that part. But yeah, interesting. They've changed so much since that first year.
yeah, it's I've seen a lot of conversations going on online about because there were so many influencers there, and I've seen people say that's a good thing. I've seen people say that's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's fine if they brought in influencers who are in the music scene. If there's so many influencers or people on like Instagram and Spotify who are trying to get their music heard, and that'd have been the perfect venue. And then I see they have like people in the beauty space, and like, what do they have to do with music? So I feel like they don't know what they're doing, or like MTV has lost the identity that it had when we were watching it growing up.
I agree with you. I think when we were growing up, it brought music to us. We had the radio, and then all of a sudden we had MTV. We watched stars rise from MTV. We were like, I want my MTV was the slogan.
Yep.
And I don't know when the last time I watched MTV for just pure, like, let me hear new music. Let me see the visuals of the video. It's been so long. Now I think it's just a place for people to be seen.
Yep. Yeah, I was trying to think on Sunday. I'm like, when is the last time I watched MTV and the VMAs? And it's got to be at least early 2000s.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. The performances I liked were Ricky Martin, the tribute to Ozzy, which was amazing.
Yes.
And Mariah Carey and Busta Rhymes. And I'm like, of course, all like old school.
Exactly. All the old school stuff.
Yeah. And it all was different.
Can we talk about Ricky Martin's tan? He was so tan, and he doesn't age. I think he's reversing.
Yeah. I remember him when Menudo, when he, I used to have the album, like for some reason, I still have all of our, like my parents' albums, but all of the albums from like the 80s and 90s are gone. I don't know. I feel like either they were stolen or we had a hurricane that hit my house and those all got ruined, but it's just really convenient that, but I remember he was really little in Menudo. And
what soap opera was he on? I remember he was on a soap opera.
Was it General Hospital?
I think it was General Hospital.
Yeah.
He was a looker. I remember he was a looker.
And I'm like, because I looked up, I'm like, I know he's Gen X. I'm like, he's 53. And I'm like, you know what? That's, yes, I'm like 53, which is not old. He still has the moves. He still sounded amazing.
You're right.
It was, yeah, I mean, but it was cool. Like, yeah, we had Latin music. We had Mariah Carey, which is like, pop, maybe a little R&B. Then you had Busta Rhymes, who's hip hop rap, and then Ozzy. And granted, Ozzy's not a Gen X, was not a Gen Xer, but he's still part of like
He
I'm like, at least our music was different. All the music, the performances, I mean, I turned it off at some point because I was bored. All the music sounded exactly the same. I was like,
yeah.
or I'm just getting old.
And I remember, I asked my kids are all in their 20s, and they don't even watch MTV. I remember when I was growing up, I was like, oh, it's like whatever night, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, Headbangers Ball, cannot
Mm.
miss it, or Real World,
Yep.
um, Beavis and Butthead, even. That was like a mainstream TV channel. That was entertainment,
Yes.
and they don't.
Yeah. I would watch 120 minutes because I was like big into alternative. I would watch
Yes,
Liquid Television because even though I'm not a cartoon girl, I was like fascinated by the different, animation and just the different things that were going on. It was so, we had remote control, like, and music. Like,
right.
we would come home and you'd like turn on MTV and everyone would like just anticipate the release of whoever's video was Madonna or Michael Jackson or whoever it was. It was a big deal.
Right.
And now it's like,
And we followed the VJs. We
yep,
all had our favorite VJs, and you'd go and be like, oh, it's their time block, and it baffles me. But that created what kind of gave rise to MySpace and so many things that we all were using at that time.
yeah. I mean, because there's like Napster and burning CDs and sharing music and
Oh yeah, Napster.
yeah, that we all use that we weren't supposed to,
I
but
don't think. Oh, I know. I don't think I don't think hair bands would have been what they were if we didn't see them on MTV. I don't think they would have had such success because they were so visual,
yes.
and that movement.
Oh yeah, because I remember watching it going, like, what? Just like being fascinated, but also perplexed. 'Cause I'm like, these are very masculine men that are dressed like they've got a lot of makeup on and they have more hairspray in their head than I do in mine. And it was a very interesting time too, of like a lot of, there was like androgyny going on where like my mom made fun of me
Oh yeah.
because I was in love with George Michael and she's like, and when he finally came out, she's like, how did you not know? And I'm like, because it was the 80s. Men
Yeah,
looked like
it was
women.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Sebastian Bach was probably from Skid Row, was literally beautiful by male or female standards. He
Yeah.
was just beautiful. And I remember my dad, same thing. I had the big poster on my wall and the vinyls, and he was like, why, Kelly, why? And I was like, I don't know. The
Yeah.
more eyeliner, the better on a man. What are you telling me,
Yeah.
Dad?
Right? I mean, like we didn't even phase us. We're like, okay, this is, and the same with like, hip hop and rap. If MTV didn't have, MTV Raps, I don't think a lot of those artists would have gotten big or been finally, on mainstream radio because they were not getting played on mainstream either. So it was,
No,
yeah.
I think Eminem, right? He
Mm.
probably wouldn't have been as big as he was if it wasn't for MTV.
Yeah. There's a documentary that I don't know if it's out or coming out called Stand, and literally about people who are kind of
Oh,
obsessed with him. He's in it. I've only seen clips of it, but I'm like, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, he wrote that song, and it's like that there were people who are just, because he's a whole. I mean, love him because also he's a Gen Xer, but he's a very interesting character. And
super.
yeah, from like the start to his evolution, he's just from Slim Shady to, and he's very outspoken, which I like.
Oh, and then we had MTV Unplugged, and
Yeah.
that was fantastic. I loved that. You saw like some of the '90s bands come out, like Alice in Chains and Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and do I think some of their best music just doing Unplugged.
Oh yeah, because the Nirvana Unplugged is like legendary because
Yes.
just and like George Michael again, I love him. He did it Unplugged and he was amazing. Like any of the artists that were you really saw their talent because they were doing such stripped down sessions where I don't know if some of the artists today could do that.
I don't think they could, like, with the invention of auto-tune, it'd be kind of rough.
Yeah. Like, I was impressed with, I think it was Tate McRae. Like, I thought her song, I'm like, I don't know what you're singing. It doesn't sound, but her dancing, I was like, it was very good and very cool. And like her in the, I don't know, it was like a sand or volcano, something. It was like, that was pretty cool. But I'm like, the music, it's just, it felt more like the younger artists were doing a performance. Whereas like, back in the day, it was like a performance, but also the song was important too.
Right,
And now it's
right.
like,
Well, and then we learned our sweet dance moves from MTV, like Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation and
mhm.
anything Madonna did, and then Britney Spears when she came out with "Baby Hit Me One More Time." I think she was 16, but we all of a sudden were all, we'd maybe making fun of her, but in the background we're like, we're doing our moves. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, because her dance moves were amazing. I mean, and I remember from the Mickey Mouse Club, like her, Justin Timberlake, and I think a couple other them that were like, when the Mickey Mouse Club was like the last time it was around. Yeah, and I mean, it's just, and like TRL, you would,
Oh, I forgot about TRL.
yeah,
Yeah.
you like, be so jealous of the people in the audience. You're like, oh, I wish I could go and sit in the audience and maybe see my favorite, performance or yeah, it was, and even just, I do blame MTV a little bit for the rise of reality TV, but some of the
Yes,
seasons of The Real World, like the first season and the Miami season, were groundbreaking and, you
they
know,
were.
really interesting.
They came out, when did they come out? 94 or
I
somewhere
think,
in 92?
I remember watching the first season, the New York season, when I was in college. So like 92.
92. That was, I mean, I was glued to the TV for that. Just
Yep.
absolutely glued to the TV. Um, I do think they are to be blamed for reality TV rising.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it started out good. I mean, it was interesting, in New York, the conversations that were going on, and you know about race and just seeing like young people trying to like live their lives, and then as the years progress, I mean, the Miami with Pedro who had AIDS and passed away
Right.
when the show was on, and like that was interesting. And then as the seasons, like I remember was it Hawaii, I was like, this is getting out of control. Like I kind of stopped watching it, and then we had Road Rules after that.
Well, yeah, Road Rules. Jersey Shore, right? That was on MTV.
Yeah, I tried to watch that.
Yeah, no, it didn't resonate nearly as well.
No, I was like, I think I'm losing brain cells by by watching this. And then we like the cool thing too is like then, MTV led to VH1 where we had like, behind the music and pop-up videos and that just seems, yeah, it's weird because when you think about like it started in 81 and what by the early 2000s they weren't really like
Yeah.
videos were, yeah, so it's not like it, what is that, 20 years and then it's just poof something else. It's really weird.
Do you think if they had kept the same format that they did in their first years, with just playing videos and then some of the things that we got sprinkled in there with the news and the this and the that, do you think that they would still be popular if let's say it was streaming now and you can get it on your phone and your laptop and everything else?
I wonder, like it would be an interesting thing to see because now you go to YouTube to watch a video
Right.
and I, there was like, I think the New York Times was talking about this. Like you can see how many plays it gets where you couldn't before. And I'm like, well, because we weren't counting it, but
No.
it's still not like, it's not you'll hear people talk about certain videos that come out, but it wasn't like where it wasn't appointment television, like, oh, this person's video is coming out today and I want to be the first to see it
Oh
because,
yeah.
then everyone's talking about it. But yeah, I wonder if they would have kept some of the same format, what music would be like. And yeah, would it still, because I know kids aren't really watching TV, but if it was streaming,
I think so my son and his friends in New York City, they were, they're all the huge Swifties up there too. Well, they're everywhere. Swifties are everywhere. But so they did like, they're in their mid 20s and they did these elaborate cocktail parties for it was 2 years ago, whenever I think it was her last album, when it dropped at midnight on whatever night. And I happened to be in New York City visiting him, and they had a huge party. And I thought, if MTV was still doing what it did, and it was dropping these videos, these kids would be all over that.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, because they could do like a listening party
Yeah, like a
live.
listening party.
Yeah, which did they? I feel like did they used to do that? I feel like they would have interviews with the artists and talk about the music. I
Right.
remember when they had Oasis on and they'd have to have like subtitles because you couldn't understand what they were saying. Um, the same when like Ozzy had his show. I was like, which I loved. I think that was such a
I thought that
cool
was a great show.
because you're like, oh,
I,
he's a rock star that takes out the garbage, and you
I
know,
love that.
yeah.
Same with Gene Simmons, his reality show, The Family Jewel or something like
Mhm.
that. That was a really good show too.
Yeah.
And just people were MTV Cribs
Oh yeah.
and Pimp My Ride. The Cribs was the best though, because you're like, oh, I'm inside the star's house, and I'm like, now as I'm older, I'm like, that wasn't even their house. That was their sixth house
Right.
in Hawaii somewhere.
It's like there's always crystal in the
Oh,
fridge,
always,
and
always.
then yeah, here's where the magic happens. And I do remember they went to was it Tommy Lee's house in his bedroom, and I was like, that's something I've never seen before. The
Yeah, you're
swing, I
like,
was like, okay, interesting. Not surprised,
not
but
surprised.
yeah, but I think it would be nice if MTV like at least tried to get Gen Z and Gen Alpha like by having listening parties or having their favorite artists on, and even if it is artists that are on YouTube or I'm not YouTube are on TikTok or Instagram that are put because I've discovered music that way. There's a band that put out something like and it sounds like Nine Inch Nails, and so they're like and every comment under the video is like Gen X going, oh my God, this is like Gen X approved. This sounds like Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, you got to tell me who it is.
You have to, here, I'll look it up really quick. But yeah, I mean, there's some other music like Alanis Morissette redid a Carly Simon song Coming Around Again, and Carly Simon's on it. And it's just a really cool
Collaborations and covers like that would be so good. And if they could have like the original artist on too,
yeah. And I
to
think,
do
I
like a
mean,
discussion.
in like I'd watch MTV again if it was fun watching some of the videos. What is this group called? It's called Not a Toy, and the song is called Doomsday Holiday, and it literally is like listening to Nine Inch Nails, who I think is
Not a
touring again.
toy. Oh, now I got something to put in my playlist. I remember so in the 90s I was a big grunge fan, and then also then Nine Inch Nails and Filter, everybody that started coming out, and I was a really big Marilyn Manson fan. And I went and saw him in concert in the 90s. But I remember my dad I think I had gone over to my parents' house, and they had done Marilyn Manson was doing an interview. And I'm like, Dad, see, you got to sit down and you got to listen. He is so smart. Look how smart he is. Because my dad was like, what kind of music? What is this human? I'm like, listen to him talk. Listen to him talk. And you can't do that with your parents with like Spotify, or you don't really get to interact. I guess you could on social media, but it's so quick that you
Yeah.
don't get to interact or get a little more in depth and feel like, oh, I'm getting to know this celebrity. At least you got a little bit more information if you were going to fangirl or fanboy that person or group.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Depeche Mode in high school.
Mhm.
I would
Oh yeah.
listen to Black Celebration every single night. My
Oh
sister
yeah.
and brother called it depress mode because the rule of my family is when you were driving, you could listen to whatever you wanted to. So I was the first to drive as the oldest. So I would always put on Depeche Mode. And they were like, I don't. Yeah. And I was like, I bought a cassette of like, or no, a VHS of some of their videos. I mean, and just, yeah, you wanted to know more about these artists, and MTV was a great way to do that. And not just like who they like about their music and what the music meant and also who they were. So yeah, you could crush on them or fangirl and yeah.
Yeah, and then you go straight to the concert because you were like, I have to see and you felt like you knew them. you know, to a certain degree, you're like, I am their biggest fan. I know so much about them. And I just think that that drove even more. I feel so very, unless you're following a band's account on social media, very detached now from music. It's like, that's a
Yeah.
great song. But when we were younger and you're seeing the visuals and they're in the concerts and everything, and you're watching it constantly and you're learning the lyrics and what they mean, and it just meant a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, because like we would come home with you buy a single or the cassette or the CD, and you would literally sit there and read the liner notes and memorize the lyrics, and like it, it meant something. And now you don't get that experience of like buying something, bringing it home, and learning the music, or you know, or waiting in the line at the record store to get a concert ticket or to get that CD that is just coming out.
I think I just saw a meme on Instagram, and it was like, I think it was Virgin Records or one of the record stores, and it said, you know, this was Gen X's social life, meeting at the record store. And it was, right?
Yeah.
You'd go and the day the record dropped, and then you'd just sit in there and you'd hang out and look at all the covers and see all the music. I used to go all the time, like once a week.
Yeah, when my first job in Chicago, we would take field. I worked in advertising agency. We would all take like field trips sometimes to the Virgin Mega Store that was on Michigan Avenue, and we'd be like, "You have to get this," or we'd sit there and listen to stuff. I love that experience of finding music that was from another country, or maybe a CD you didn't have, and just spending your entire lunch break or whatever looking for stuff, and then we'd all share it and burn the CDs. And I feel like kids don't, I don't know how they're sharing, I know they can share music, but I don't feel like it's the same thing because they're all kind of listening. It
It's very
seems like,
digital. It's
yeah.
very impersonal. Even though we say we reach out now, our circles have expanded because of the internet, but and cell phones and this and that, but I don't feel like there's that much of a connection anymore to it. I mean, we would go out, what would we do? Like, this is really going to date me, but get the 45. And then so you just like, I spent a lot of money on 45s because I was like, oh, I just want the one song. But then
Yeah.
eventually you'd expand that to the album or the cassette. And
Hmm.
then I remember my sister got she for Christmas the big tower system, you know, with the CD. So this one came with a CD. It was like new technology. And it was the bigger CD before they got to the little CDs. And it was Europe was her first CD in the final countdown. And I remember going, what is this beautiful sound? This beautiful thing that you, and it doesn't, there's no, you don't put it on like a turntable. This
Right,
is
with the little
great.
thing in the middle that like, because my mom had an old record player when we were little. She had some of her 45s, and they had this like plastic thing that you had to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
in.
the little like adapter.
Yeah, so it would sit properly on the record player.
Her tower was like, it had the turntable, which then had the cassette player and then the CD and then the giant speakers. And I just thought, wow, it's never going to get any better than this ever.
Right. I mean, and then walking around like our Discman, I'm like, and you have to like hold it a certain way, or it would skip, or I saw someone
Mhm.
doing like holding the plug or the cord because sometimes it would like mess up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that sucker was like, well, this is like half the size of it. Like that thing was just the big circle, or you got the big like the cassette one. I remember the cassette one
Mhm.
where that one weighed a ton,
Oh yeah.
and you're trying to work out, but you weren't doing anything because you had to drag that sucker with you.
And then the people walking around with the boom boxes. I remember like having a boom box where the speakers would detach so you could like kind of put them in different places or what. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I listen to music on my phone, on my computer. I do have a record player. It's not that great. We bought my dad when he moved, like he had dementia, and I know they say that music is good, so I bought him like not a very expensive record player so he could listen to music because I noticed it kind of calmed him down and made him happy. But I like kind of want to get a new record player, a nice one, because there's something about that record sound, and a lot of records are being like re-released, which is kind of cool. But yeah, the music experience when we were like little to it changed so much.
So much. I know my boys all have record players now, they all bought like they're really nice and the quality is great. And yes, they're buying the limited edition and the colors and this and that. And I recently went to a record store with one of them, and I found I think it was Fleetwood Mac, and I'm like, oh, I don't even have a record player. I should get this. This is like that old feeling, like I must covet this record. And then I looked at the price, and I was like, wow, times have changed from when we were buying records. Like this
Yeah.
sucker was like $50.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
goodness.
no,
No.
no, we didn't pay that.
No. I wonder if you could go to like stores that have old records. I wonder what they're charging. Because I
They're
get the new
still
releases might be more expensive because they have to
right.
repress them, but $50,
I
come on.
I think they're like in the 25 plus range for used, like good condition used. But I don't what did we pay, like $12 or less for an album? And you got like a whole booklet and things and cards and stickers with that.
Yeah, I still have, so I wore my Purple Rain t-shirt, but I still have my Purple Rain record. I don't know why I still have that. And inside there was a poster. I still have the poster. I never took the poster out. So it's in like mint condition.
Oh, big money.
I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't want to part with it, but I didn't realize the poster was still in there. Like, I don't know why I didn't hang it up. Probably because I'm like, I wanted to preserve it. But yeah, we would get posters, and the album, like the sleeves were interesting, and it was, yeah, I really do like records, but we didn't pay 50, we didn't pay $50.
No, it was crazy. But I mean, we had to listen to it on the radio. So if we weren't listening to it on MTV, we had to sit there and when you were trying to record on your cassette and you're like, "Oh, I missed the first 3 seconds of the
Yeah.
song." And you're like, "Well, oh well."
Or the
But
DJ would be talking over the intro, and you're like, stop talking.
or they bleed the two records in, and that, now that's really cool. But at the time, you're like, "I am trying to." The intro is the best.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and like we were radio contests where you like could win concert tickets, or
Yes.
I won a Max Headroom contest, and
Oh, you're
it was like
lucky.
I got a record, which again, don't know what happened to it, and a t-shirt. And I think I was in high school, and I thought I was like the coolest. I'm like, Max Headroom, like I don't even, that was a weird little thing, but you'd call and you'd call and you'd call and
Oh,
hope.
yeah, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm number 199 in line. I'm winning this. I'm winning it." Or you hang up, you call back, you hang up, you call back.
Yeah.
Or, or they just want to get your request. I remember trying to do requests and you're like, you know, "Call back." And then you're like, "I'm calling back. I'm
Right.
calling back because I'm getting through this time."
Yeah, and then listening like Casey Kasem and like the dedications that were just usually
Yes.
heart wrenching.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to give a dedication to my mom, who's like, if that was still around now, I'd be like, "Boys, I want to hear you every Saturday dialing, 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 and dedicating something to me."
Oh, it was, and then like at the end of the year where they do like the top 100 countdown, and you would listen, like you spending your New Year's Eve
Oh
like
yeah.
listening to the countdown. It was a
Oh yeah.
whole
Just hoping you were like, "My band is gonna be up there."
right.
That's right.
You're like, I bet I know what number one is. And yeah, it was such a interesting time. And I mean, it's nice that technology evolves. It's sometimes it's like kids are missing out on going to a music store, or like even bookstores, like the whole experience of just wandering the aisles and finding something interesting, and then telling your friends like, look at the cool thing that I found that you don't know about. And now you do. And and we were listening to so many different things. Like 1 minute, yeah, you'd be listening to Nirvana, and then you'd be listening to Enya.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think like because we didn't have cell phones, beepers, anything, we just had phones with cords on them and we got, limited time by our parents. So when you did see your friends, like we spent so much time talking about pop culture and what was going on because that's the only time we had people, you had brothers and sisters, but if you didn't or didn't have the same similarities, you'd find your group to be like, "Oh my gosh, like, Depeche Mode just dropped Violator," or,
Yep.
you know, Prince and Purple Rain in the movie and the whole thing. Those were your only people. So your whole like lunch break and everything was talking about pop culture,
Oh,
which I think that was so much more exciting than, picking up your phone and texting, "Hey, Taylor just dropped her new album. What do you think?" I don't know. It's kind of lost that. I think we were very lucky to have had
Yeah.
that in our youth.
And I also feel like music was everywhere. Like I was always on in my room. Like my parents had an old, I think it was my mom's old, like it was like an 8-track player and then a radio, but it had speakers. And my sister and I had that in our bedroom, and it was always on. We were getting
Mhm.
ready, doing homework in the car. There was always music. You would, roll the windows down if your song came on and turn it up really loud so everyone knew what you were listening
Yep.
to. And you
Yep.
just,
You look cool.
yep. Even though sometimes the songs were like not cool. Or I remember for some reason that song, the Divinals, like when I think about you, I touch myself. Like we were
Oh,
playing
yes. Oh.
so loud, because
And
we
and
knew it was
like
a naughty song. So
and that's like nothing compared to what comes out today. But then yeah, that was big time controversial.
yeah, and even like I
But
remember Two Live Crew. Like I didn't care about Two Live Crew.
I was trying to think. I'm like, "What's that song, Kelly? What's that song?" Think that's it.
Yeah, and like I remember I think it was in 7th or 8th grade, and none of us were really cared that much until adults started making a big deal about it, and then someone had the CD, and we were passing it around class, being like, "Oh, look at this!" Because it was women in like a G string, so it was just
Right.
butts. I remember, and like the guy, and I, we wouldn't have cared if they had not,
No.
yeah,
I also think like merchandise, clothing. I mean, we came from we started the jean jacket with the album covers painted on by your friend or someone who could do it. Like my stepbrother had the White Snake, he had a
Mhm.
jean jacket with the White Snake album cover painted on the back, and I had a Motley Crue, and we like that was like prized possessions right there. And then the t-shirts, especially us
Mhm.
in the 80s, if you were hair band, where you just rip that t-shirt up, and but you were like, look what I got, Poison, look at me.
Right. And if you went to a concert, like you had to get a T-shirt and you had to wear it the next
Oh,
day at school, so everyone knew you went to the
absolutely.
concert. Yeah. It was
Absolutely.
do you
And
remember like when MTV started doing the spring break tours?
yes.
That was I remember watching going, that would be fun, but I don't want to be on TV in a bathing suit. It's a bridge too far for me.
It was like super hedonistic for that moment in time. You were
Yeah.
like, whoa. Empty. And then I don't know if there's stats out there if that pretty much was the rise of spring break in general. I don't know. I feel like I never heard about spring break before that. I'm sure it was in existence, but that was pretty crazy. And then you'd watch it. You literally would spend time watching people at a beach with a DJ who theoretically they weren't supposed to be drinking, but you knew darn well they were drinking. And
Yeah.
that's what we did. We're like, "Ooh, let's watch spring break. Let's watch people having fun."
Uh-huh.
And that was huge.
Yeah, and then you look in the crowd like, "Oh, there's some stuff going on down there that."
Yeah, you're like, or your parents would come in and they'd be like, "Turn it off." And you're like, "Why? Why? It's nothing bad. They're just at a beach."
Oh yeah, my mom wouldn't a lot of times didn't want us watching MTV with my brother around because he was 4 years younger than I am, and I'm like, "What is the big deal?" She's like, you understand that this isn't real, and you understand things." She's like, "Your brother, no offense, Mike, if you're listening, was like, she's like, he's impressionable and an idiot," and she's like, "I don't want him watching this stuff." I think because she's like, "I don't want to have to explain this to him."
Right.
So yeah, sometimes we have to, if she wasn't around, we'd turn it on, and but if she was there, she's like, "That's enough MTV around your brother." So, but yeah, it was in like what was the dating show that with Jenny McCart? I can't remember. I don't know why I can't ever remember the name of it, but
Oh, I know what
um,
you're talking about. Yeah.
it was, it was such a weird. I remember watching it, going, "This is very odd," and like some of the guys, I'm like, "Okay, really?"
Right. I think it got like as we grew and matured, as we grew up with MTV and we matured, we started to go, and they changed a lot. It,
Yeah,
it got stranger, odder, didn't make sense for the way we grew up with it. I mean, again, that's where the new music came out of the day. That's where everything was born. Even like you said, the New Year's Eve shows that they had, and then they were in Times Square at some point, and it doesn't hold that anymore, and I really wish I would go back to watching it, not as much, but if there was a particular show or segment that they did, I'd go back to it
Yeah.
just to see.
Yeah, I mean, just watching it was funny, I was watching some of the videos, like, the '80s, the '90s, and it was funny because some of them, like, I just hear, like, the beginning of the song, and I'm like, "I know exactly what that is," and some of the videos I remembered, some of them I didn't, but it was funny seeing, like, the certain tropes of, like, '80s videos, like,
Right.
with people that had a budget and people that didn't have a budget.
Yeah. That's so true, and you're just like, yeah, they're like, I remember watching Police once, thinking they didn't have a budget, but they were just very artsy, but, it was all black, and it was just the 3 of them, and they're just sitting there playing, and I'm like, "This isn't very entertaining." But the music was great, and now when you think back, boy, that was very iconic video.
Yeah.
And, um, yeah, anything Prince did
Oh, yeah.
was amazing. Britney Spears,
Yeah,
Madonna,
Emma, yeah.
um, Like a Prayer, when that video came out. I mean, we did get some seriously controversial moments from
Yes.
MTV.
Yeah, I remember when she first came out with Like a Virgin, and I remember, like, she's on the boat or whatever, I think was she in Venice or something, and I remember watching it and being like, "I don't," like, I knew something, I'm like, "I know that meant something, but I didn't really understand 'cause it's
Right.
pretty." Yeah, I'm like, "There's."
I was the same.
Yeah. Or, like, Olive Culture Club, I like watching Boy George, who's an amazingly talented artist, and not
Love.
realizing that he was singing to his drummer the whole time, like, pouring his heart out to that guy who had no interest in him after their little fling or whatever.
That was, and who was it? Oh, well, then we had bands like Milli Vanilli, who we thought were like doing it, and then you find out, that they're just the hottest thing out there, and you find out they're lip syncing the
I
whole time.
know.
But honestly, didn't matter.
No, I'll hear their music sometimes come on, like, the '80s channel in Sirius, and I'll, like, sing along and, and those 2 guys could sing, and their story just turned so tragic too that
Yeah.
but yeah, and then, like, just, like, the hair metal, I remember, like, Poison, there was one video that they did where, like, they're working and I think washing dishes or something, and then
Oh yeah.
all
So
of a
funny.
sudden, like, they blast through to some, like, concert, and it's just they're all done up in neon and whatever and singing, and I'm like, "Sure, that could."
That absolutely could happen. But we were like, yes, give me more of that.
Yes, and you 2, like, performing on the roof and,
That was a good
just
one.
yeah, it was really cool just to see, like, how bands would take a song and interpret it, or some of them, like, they were not even in the music video, it was just imagery and
Oh, like, the one that killed me, I never liked it, loved the song, "Aha, Take on Me," so where it was, like, all the pencil drawing version of them.
Mhm.
I remember being so sad because I wanted to see A, I was like, "I wonder if they're cute,"
Right.
and B, you're like, "Well, I'm not like this, I didn't wanna watch a cartoon or a pencil drawing, I wanna see the band."
I mean, well, he was cute.
He
He was
was
Yeah.
cute, and then why didn't we show him?
I also remember, like, when, Rick Astley, who I still love, he's still
Oh,
performing,
yeah.
like, when you heard his music and you thought he was a black guy, and then you see the video and you're like, "Oh, no, this is," or just, like, people that you had the
That
image of them, of what they look
exactly.
like, and then you're like, "No, these are," which yeah, it gave you, like, an insight into their brains, and also, like, directors that were like, "So and so directed this video," was, like, a big deal. Wasn't, like, Wes Anderson, I think, first started did he first start doing
Yeah, I think
videos? Yeah.
so.
It
No,
was
you have a really good point. You'd listen to him on the radio and having never seen the band or the performer before, and you create this image of them, and it sometimes you were pleasantly surprised that you
yeah.
were like, "Ooh," and then sometimes you were like, "Huh, that didn't work out the way I thought it was in my brain."
Like, no wonder we didn't have their image on the record of the CD. They didn't want you to see what they looked like.
Yeah, no, we didn't wanna do that.
Yeah, and some of the video there was a Rod Stewart one, like, "Do you think I'm the sexy?" And it was I'm like, "Could his or leather pants be any tighter?" And I'm
Oh,
like,
I know.
and I love that song, but I'm like, his I just don't it did not find him attractive at all. And
No.
I was like, and then he's with some lady, and then, like, they're making out, but then they would stop and watch the TV with the video on it. I'm like, this is a little narcissistic.
Right. Like, ooh, let me watch.
Yeah, I'm like, this is very odd. I mean, it was, and like the Run DMC and Aerosmith like combo, and
Yep.
there, yeah, it was
That was
such a,
iconic.
yeah, and I mean, even the videos that you see on YouTube, I don't feel like there are as inventive or like
I, f-
monumental or interesting.
I feel like they haven't progressed with where they should, like where a video should be with all this technology. They still feel like they're the same or even less quality than what we were watching. Like, and I think you're right. It's like less thought given. I feel like Thriller. Wow, what a production that
Oh,
video was. That was huge. But I don't think anybody puts, they're just like, oh, we need to put some visual out there. But we'll just more concentrate on Apple Music and Spotify and Amazon. But music will speak for itself. Meanwhile, no, 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 no. We become hardcore groupies when we get that, like Evanescence. I forget which song they did, and that was probably one of the last videos I probably watched. It was such a beautiful. I don't know. It was Lithium. It was such a beautifully done video with the snow and everything, and they just don't do that anymore.
no, because and they felt like the artists were like really like trying to tell a story or trying to send a message. And sometimes it was just a performance. Like they would just record, like different concerts, which I thought was fine because,
Yeah, that's
the
fine.
way they would cut it together was kind of cool. And sometimes you just wanted to hear the song and be watching the artist perform it, because not every video had to have some like deep meaning or some big thing. But yeah, now they just feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the takeaway message is someone needs to get to MTV and tell them, put a bunch of Gen Xers on your board and have them like, let's redo this whole thing. Let's bring it back.
Yes. I mean, we get forgotten about, but like Gen Xers are, if you go on TikTok, there's a whole community of Gen Xers. People are, and then of course Gen Z tries to attack us, and it's hilarious because they start talking. You guys were so entitled. I'm like, what generation are you talking about?
What? We were the least. We were the least entitled. I was just talking to no.
No.
I was just talking to my brother last night, and he was like, these kids today, we pay for their car insurance and their cell phones, and we try to give our kids what we didn't have. He's like, remember we would work our butts off from like 12, 14 years old and give all our money to our parents to hold on for us, and they gave us maybe $10, and it wasn't even lunch money, so we didn't get that either.
Yep. Yeah, I got like an allowance, but then the way I went, my parents paid for college, but I worked for it because every summer we'd have to work in my dad's office, and I never saw that paycheck. It went right into my college account, and so
Right.
I'm thankful for that. But it's like not like I didn't work for it. But I'm like, how come I don't get the money? They're like, do you want to go to college? I'm like, okay, sure. And it wasn't an easy job either because I would go to interviews later, and they're like, oh, you work for your parents. I'm like, I was there Monday through Thursday at like 7:30 in the morning till like 6 o'clock at night. And yeah, it was not. Also, it's a dental office. It's there's some gross stuff going on there. Like we did everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, but we were not entitled or anything was handed to us. And even if it was like, here's this, your parents let you know that you needed to appreciate it or you had to work for it. It wasn't,
We were
yeah,
working it off. There's no free ride there.
no. And really don't poke the Gen X bear. Like
No, I told my kids, like, I think no, it wasn't my kids. It was someone else's kids, younger, and they were telling me a story about how their child was so upset because they didn't get the latest sneakers and this and that. And I was like, listen here. I grew up in Long Island, and not that it makes a difference. We were all across the board, but very blue collar. And my parents at 16 said, you're paying for your own clothes. I mean, you're not getting anything. And we would go, my sister and I would go to the flea market and get the knockoff Keds.
mhm.
But we each had at some point one pair of Keds, and you had to have Keds. So we took a little like a box cutter and took the little blue Keds label off the back, and we would constantly reuse it. And we get the flea market white boat shoes, and then we glue it on there. And I'm like, so kids, We just went and bought the $5 boat shoes that are just not attractive, but we slapped that Keds on. 'Cause we were thrifty. We were Gen X. Nobody gave us anything.
No, also, like, Keds smelled. I remember I had a pair in
Oh
college,
yeah.
and I'm like, "Why do these smell so bad?" Like, you wash
Yeah.
them, they just stunk all the time. Like, it was kinda like, it was cool to have them. I don't know why, because they were just a white pair of tennis shoes with the label on the back. The same with, like, Guess jeans, right? You had to have that red triangle on the back of your jeans and,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, like, because my dad was an orthodontist, so my parents had, could afford things, but my mother would be like, "You're not getting Guess jeans, like, until they're on sale." And so or, like, Cabbage Patch Kids, she's like, "Yeah, I'm not going and waiting," because there were 2 of, like, I have a sister, she's like,
Right.
"I'm not going and competing with parents when they were throwing them and what," she's like, "It's not happening." So she made us one, and then my grandfather gave us money so we could actually get one. And then later when you could get, the preemies easier, but it was like, you're not getting it just because you want it. Like,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, you had to work for it, or, it had to be your birthday, or I remember, like, I still have my Swatch watches. And when I wanted one, my dad's like, well, I have to see if this is a good watch, because I'm not going to just buy you something because it's cool.
Right. Like, and if they only knew like what we were asking for cost so little compared to what
Oh,
our kids are asking for today.
oh, yeah. But I do feel bad for, like, I've seen conversations, there's, like, a lot of conversations going on now about homecoming dresses, and, like, they look like they're going to a strip club in Vegas. Um, but it's because they're like, but where do these kids shop? There's not, like, stores really for them to just go that are for, like, juniors, and, they don't have the same options that we did. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. We had,
Yeah.
we could go to a department store, we could go to the Limited or Express or Benetton or Spree, or, there was options. And but that doesn't mean you have to let your daughters look like they're going to be spinning around a stripper pole. Because, like, some of these dresses, I'm like, they are super short, super tight, or they're like a bustier or whatever. I'm like, if I had asked to wear that to homecoming, I'd still be grounded. It would,
Yeah. Mine looked like I was Cinderella, not in a good way. It was just so huge. And my first prom, my parents had divorced and my dad's colorblind. But I didn't really think about that. I didn't know. So he took me to like J.C. Penney to buy my dress. And it was just like there's so much fabric everywhere and lace. And it was peach. And I kept saying to him, Daddy, this is I love that color on you. Oh, I love everything about it, this and that. And when and I was like, it's a lot of dress. And he was like, no, it's a prom. And we got back home and I said, Daddy, you really like this dress on me? And he goes, that is the best shade of blue, Kelly. And it just goes with your eyes. I'm like, Dad, it's peach. And it's not even a good peach. It's like stuck between peach and coral, and it's
oh
hideous.
no.
There's ribbons and lace. And he was like, it was on sale rack. And I'm like, oh, but you couldn't say anything because A, we listened to our parents, and B, if we didn't buy it, we had very little say. And we feared our parents.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember, like, going, then once you bought your dress, you had to go get the shoes and dye them to match
Oh
the
yeah.
dress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's true. Like, we learned you respected your elders. Like, if you did not respect your parents or other adults, like, there are still adults in my life to this day who are like, you can call me by my first name. And I'm like, no, I can't do it.
No,
I
absolutely
can't.
not.
Yeah. I have, like, a baton teacher. I took baton from the time I was like 8 until all the way through high school. And I always called her Mrs. Dillo. And she's like, you can call me Beverly. I'm like, I'm sorry, I cannot do it.
It's not happening. That's not who you are.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry, it's never. And my sister's the same way. She's like, no, I can't call her that. I'm like, yeah, it's just still. And I'm like, we've earned the right to call them by their first name, but yeah, it's crazy. So we're almost at the end. So I want to switch to talk about your background, because when reading your bio, you're like a woman of many talents. One of the things that really stuck out to me was that you were an MMA fighter, and were on America's, was it Top Ninja, or
Ninja Warrior.
Ninja Warrior? That's right. Like, which, I mean, just watching those shows and, like, watching that fight, that's an intense place to be.
It is. An MMA, and you and I talked briefly before we came on. I didn't start till I was 38. I took my first fight simply because I started training in my 30s as a form of self-defense, because I was physically assaulted in my early 20s and finally decided, mentally you have to do something about it and you have to not be a victim. So I started to train so that I could fight, so I could, which is the craziest thing in the world, but to prove to myself I can defend not only myself, but my children. So I trained and with all these, 18-year-old boys, because at the time women weren't big in MMA, and I fought 4 times from 38 to 42, and then just kind of segued into jujitsu because it was really awkward showing up the emergency room so many times with cuts. I have so many scars with 3 little tiny children and your husband in tow, and they're just like, "Ma'am, do you need to talk to us about something?" And you're like, "No, I
No.
was fighting." But that was a really cool experience. It really changed my life just doing that, even though my opponents all have been my children easily. They were just, early 20s. And then American Ninja Warrior, through MMA, I was connected with their casting folks, and they had really high hopes for me, really high hopes. They picked me out. They did the day before this. They interviewed the kids. They wanted to do this big story so that when I went really far in the competition, that they had this like great story to tell. And I didn't make it very far. I made the blooper reel. I'm pretty sure I made the blooper reel because, again, I was in, I think I was 40 at the time, and there's all these parkour and gymnasts, these young kids trying out the same time with me, doing the Denver for season 4. And I hit those quad steps just like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and never made it off the quad steps. I jumped for the ledge where you're supposed to catch yourself, catapult yourself over. I hit maybe an inch below, and my nails just went, and I went straight into the water. It was 33 degrees out. And that was my American Ninja Warrior experience. At least I can say I did it. I
Yeah.
tried out for it, and then I was on it and I was picked. But if anyone can find that on YouTube, it's an awesome blooper reel. It's
I mean,
fantastic.
like, yeah, just to even get on the show, because the stuff that they do is insane. Like a couple times that I've watched, I'm like, yeah, I would just hurt myself. Just like if I hit that thing, I'd be bruised from like head to toe. So, and then, so in the MMA fighting, like, because you're just using your hands, right? It's just wrapped in. It's not. There's no gloves, right? You're just actually
Right. You use 4-inch gloves, so
okay.
they're minimal padding at best, and then there's no other gear. Like there's no shin, head, anything like that. You're just a little bit shy of bare knuckle, and you go. And my very first fight, the girl, they closed the cage, and that's when I was like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, I was so excited. You had your walkout song, and I'm like, what just happened? And then I remember looking over going, I wonder if I can get out of the cage right now before this starts. I wonder if I could get to the bar, because I really need to go to the bar right now. And they shut it and they start the fight, and I was kind of deer in the headlights, and the girl just comes out and swings right at me, cuts me, opens me up right in the first few seconds. And I remember thinking, this, and we'll, use your own explicative, just hit me. Gee. And then I'm like, holy crap, I'm in a fight. This is like a fight. And I never made that mistake again. But
Did you
yeah.
ever, besides like cuts, did you break any bones or
No,
rib?
I was cut here. I was cut here. But no, I never broke anything. I did dislocate that first opponent. I dislocated her shoulder. That was at least at the time I was like, yeah. And I saw her at another fight, and she was like, you really screwed me up. And I was like, well, you cut my face. I'm forever. I got this thing right here.
I mean, the funny thing is when you think about our generation, right? We were beating each other up on the playground, or like, I'm going to meet you after school. So you would think like Gen X we'd be good at fighting because I avoided the fights. I did have one girl threaten me once in junior high because I was talking to a boy. I'm like, he's in my class. Like,
Right.
he sits in front of me. We're friends. But I remember being like, I don't want to get into a fight. Like, even though I was like, because I'm the older sister, so I did threaten people if they mess with my brother or sister. But I don't know if I actually would have hit. Maybe I would have. But when it came to me, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was the oldest of 5, and I I would do the same thing, but I don't think at that time I would have fought. I think I was all talk and no show kind of thing. But yeah, when you're the older and you're a Gen Xer, you're pretty much tasked with being the next in line for parenthood to take
Yes.
care of your brothers and sisters.
Yes, and there's more responsibility. And like I always call myself the experimental child because if
Oh,
it
absolutely.
yeah, because I'd be like, oh, that didn't work on you, then your siblings get the benefit. And you're like, so I'm screwed up. I
Yeah,
probably need therapy for the rest of my life. But as long as they benefited, that's fine.
correct. Yes, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And I still feel like I'm play that role of, the oldest. And when there's something going on, like when my parents were sick and I was taking care of them and my siblings were helping, but they're like, why won't you let us do something? I'm like, because by the time I explained it to you, I could already have it done. Like, you're such a
Right,
control freak. I'm like, I'm not. Mom showed me how to do this. This is the way we're going to do it. And I don't need to, because I would explain stuff to them and then they'd ask questions. I'm like, there's no questions. It's just,
right,
this is how we do it. So
right.
yeah, sometimes I wish I knew what it was like to be like the youngest and just kind of breeze through and
And
do
get
it.
everything. Nothing bad. Like everybody babies you, the grandparents, you're the golden child. Nothing goes, even when you do something wrong, it's not really that bad in their eyes anymore. Whereas we, as the oldest, did something, all hell was breaking
Right.
loose.
Like, how dare you? You should have known
Hmm.
better. You're like, I'm a child. Like,
Right.
this is part of being a child, is making mistakes and learning from them. But yeah, your parents would definitely, like, yeah, they brought the hammer down a lot
A
harder.
lot.
So yeah. So now that you're not do you, I know you still do you still weight lift even though you're not because that's something,
Um,
good for us as
yeah,
our,
I once I decided to not get beat up so much, and then I went to jujitsu, and that's really hard on your body. So I then moved into competitive powerlifting. So I compete at a national world level in powerlifting now, which I can take all the way till I'm 80, 90, if I my body hangs on. Um, but I did just start, trying to shake the rust off and just do some private boxing lessons just to see. And I put my application in for a charity event that would happen
oh, fun.
in next spring. I don't know if they'll choose the 54-year-olds. Probably not great for publicity, but I thought, I'm sure we'll wear headgear and all that. Maybe not. But I thought, I think I have a lot more bitterness and anger now at 54 that I could really do some damage.
Yeah, yeah. I keep joking that I want the little like punching bags that we had when we were kids. I had like the sand at the bottom, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I want one of those because I feel like I have a lot of pent up anger. I know, I think part of it's being perimenopausal where you're just raging all the time,
right.
but yeah, they should have like a Gen X like boxing league because I think we, especially those women, we have some things to work
We
out.
do. We do. I know when my sons were wrestling at one point in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, we're in Charleston, there was a wrestling association, and they would do, I think it was around Mother's Day, they would have the moms of wrestlers. They put on this
Nice.
charity tournament where the moms could wrestle. When I found out about it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. But they canceled it that year, and I don't think they've ever brought it back. But I was like, you were going to have some angry wrestling moms going at it, especially if you get matched up with um, someone that your child had wrestled their parent, and it didn't turn out well, and you had some pent up resentment. Oh, it was go time. I
Yeah,
wish we would have done that.
that would be fun because I do feel like our generation we have some pent up issues, some trauma that we haven't dealt with. Some of us haven't dealt with, and yeah, I think it'd be fun to like, and yeah, especially if someone hurt your kid, you're like, oh, it's on.
It's on. It's on right now.
Maybe MTV could do that. They could be like, here's some videos.
Perfect. I think that's genius idea.
I mean, that would get people. I think it would get younger generations to tune in too because they'd be like, oh, I'm going to watch my parents beat the crap out of each other.
Oh,
So
they would. They'd be like, that's my mom. Look at my
yeah.
mom. Ooh, she just got hit bad. Well, she deserved it. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be fun. Maybe like if I didn't live in an apartment, I would get one of those like punching bags that hang from the because there's just something about hitting things because I've done some like kickboxing, but not and there's just
Right.
something about letting that like
That
rage
primal.
out. That yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. I like I need to do because I do weightlifting too, but and it's nice like to get stronger, but there's no hitting, and sometimes you just
No, nothing.
yeah you just need
Nothing.
punch someone or punch something.
Right. I agree.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, on the show, on the podcast. This was so fun to go
Thanks a
back
lot.
and talk about things. If people want to reach out to you about like your work, because I know you're a chiropractor and you have your own business and your own podcast, you have so many things that you're doing. Where would you like me to send them?
I think Instagram, my Instagram is the letter I am Kellfire. If you like really bad memes and some Gen X humor sprinkled in there, and just I love to make fun of myself, so I do put some stuff on there that's educational. But if you just want to have a good laugh, or at least make me feel like I gave you a good laugh, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And that will be in the show notes along with a link to your podcast and all your bio information.
Thank you. And I look forward to releasing our episode because that was fun.
Yes, it was. Well, thank you again. It was really great to talk to you again.
Thank you too.
Thank you again to Kelly for coming on the show. It was such a fun podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will keep saying this on every episode where I get to talk to my fellow Gen Xers. I really just enjoy hearing your stories. Kelly has such an interesting story, and talking about, our childhoods and the music, and just remembering all of the, the impact that MTV had on us and our culture and music. And I still think as Gen Xers, like, we still feel that impact today I think that's why we are so, into nostalgia, especially with music. Like, if you're ever on, a song comes on the radio or in a movie or you're on social media, like it just immediately gets you. Like, I will just start singing along, much to my dog's dismay, because it's amazing how we can remember music from all different genres. Yet I can't remember why I walked into a room or why I picked up my phone. Or like, sometimes the brain just leaves. Like when I'm trying to speak, sometimes the brain's like, we are taking a pause. So anyway, if you did like what you heard today, please be sure to like, comment, share the podcast, and stay tuned, because next week will be our Cruel Summer podcast, kind of looking back at this summer and announcing our first book club pick. I will include the survey in the show notes along with all of Kelly's information. So if you still want to put your vote in or suggestions, it'll be there. And tune in to, I was going to say Spotify. No, tune in to Instagram and TikTok, the Gen X Experience Pod, to cast your final vote, your final pick for the book club pick, which I will announce next week. And until then, my fellow Gen Xers, don't you forget about me, because I won't forget about you.